Oklahoma did an article at Dewey High School. Newly purchased copies of Killers of the Flower Moon sit unread because English teacher Deborah Thorson said it would be a risk to assign the acclaimed book because race is a prominent factor in the nonfiction. So, again, going back to the Stillwater thing, going back to Ryan Walters, like fear stuff. Oh, and then Oklahoma Watch had one. New law creating uncertainty as students return to school. Like, this culture war stuff is just insane. Like, it's going to make our schools' heads explode because they're going to be, like, tilting at windmills, trying to figure out how to enforce these stupid, badly written laws to do something. I don't know.
It's just crazy that a really acclaimed book that's being made into a movie right now, from what I know.
Leo.
Kids can't even read it, even though it took place in Oklahoma. It's like, so now we're hiding our own state history from students so that they don't feel bad, so that maybe someone won't feel bad about themselves. But it's like, the kids that feel bad about themselves, that's also a conversation worth having. It's like, you don't necessarily need to hold on to the guilt that your ancestors enforced on other people. It's just like, we could be having more conversations that we're legally not allowed to have.
No. Well, I really would. Oh, sorry, Anna.
I was just going to say that I'd love to read this book. It's actually on my reading list. And as soon as I get the money, I'm going to get it.
I just get really frustrated because of all of these bills that we want to pass about banning books and anti-CRT, all of this stuff is supposed to be able to keep white youth from feeling some type of way about their ancestors and their history. But when you actually think about the motherfuckers who do feel some type of guilt or, actually want to change things, like, I don't know, they see what happened in the past was messed up and now they want to do what they can to change it in the future, versus those people who be like, I ain't never owned no slave. Like, which kind of people are actually the better, like, individual, like, in society and in a community? You know what I mean? Like, I would much rather live next to some kid who read this fucking book and now they feel some sense of white guilt than this asshole who's clearly a white supremacist and doesn't believe in American history. Like, it's just really wild to me. Like,
yeah.
And the social emotional learning thing, like, we just really only want to breed terrible humans in Oklahoma. Why is this Black woman afraid to talk to her class about a book about Oklahoma? Like,
because she's scared she's going to get fired, or the whole school is going to be placed on, like, what is it, administrative warning or whatever the classification is.
Like, it should never be that way. Like, ever. We already don't have, like, we have this many Black educators.
I literally never had a Black teacher in my entire 12 years of public school experience in the state. Never had a Black teacher until I started attending a school that's not even based in Oklahoma. That's fucked up. Even in college, like, I went to OU, UCO, OSU, OKC. No Black people there. I grew up in it. Yeah, it's just, it's bad.
Yeah, I'm kind of jazzed. Ethan's teacher is a Black woman this year, so he is at least.
I've never had a Black college professor.
Yeah.
I just had my first one like 2 semesters ago, I think, and it's just been that one.
I got a couple. Actually, I think I had a Black man who co-taught with, like, the dean of the economics school, economics of discrimination course. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was probably getting indoctrinated with woke ideology. Didn't even realize it when I was, 21.
But it'd be interesting to me is on some of these college campuses, like, you'll have your AFAM class and it's taught by a white person.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how it is at UCO. And, like, the first day of class, he's like, how many of you guys are confused that a white man's teaching your African-American, like, studies class? And it was like, everybody raised their hands. And then he gave all the reasons why he's qualified and why he's okay to teach it and all this. And it's like, no, I'm still not okay with it. Like, it's still not okay.
Like that reminds me of that reporter. And I think he writes for, like, the Tulsa World, Randy Crable or whatever the fuck. He's always like, I'm qualified to talk about the Tulsa Race Massacre and race issues because I read
Oh
all
yeah.
the books. Like, you sit your white ass down and get some black folks to speak on your panel, nigga.
Yeah, I mean, like that is the funny thing because like it was all like the dean at my economics school was a Jewish guy, um, and like they were just very intentional about how they set up the class. And Penn State, where I went, is like 85% white. So I mean, Pennsylvania is a very white state, but Penn State was very white. So I mean, it like I don't know. I mean, like it was fine. Like I didn't walk away from that experience feeling like some sense of like guilt or internalized trauma. I mean, like I just learned some shit I'd probably never heard before at that point in my young life. Like it was fine. Like I learned things. Like that's what I don't get about this whole fight is like are we just against kids like learning things? Like they can't read a book that they disagree with and maybe learn something from it? Like I don't understand the argument here. I mean, call it indoctrination, but I mean like just it's just learning stuff. Like I don't know.
You know
They
how
hate
like
learning.
consciously is all like education is elevation. These motherfuckers are like education's indoctrination.
I mean, like yeah, if we're making people I just don't even understand. Like in an educational setting, it is literally just learning. Like you read the book, you write a report, maybe you present it to the class, you discuss it. I mean, it's just learning. Like I don't know, how else people think this stuff gets done. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe I just have a really unpopular opinion being the darkest skinned person here, maybe. But hell yeah, I want my white counterparts to feel some fucking type of way about slavery, bitch. That's how
Yeah,
you keep history from repeating itself.
Low-key,
Yes,
because we're in these
don't feel
fucking
bad.
history classes and they're like, oh, your answers came over here on the boat that we picked out just for you guys. You had no fucking choice. Some of you guys jumped overboard. And all the white people are like, I can trace my roots all the way back to Pennsylvania. And it's like, great, I go all the way back to Virginia and that's as far as it goes. But like, you can go all the way back to Poland or like Germany or wherever the fuck your family came from. But it's like kids already feel bad about where they came from because of that.
Well, I'll give you a great example. So I mean, I was just in D.C. back in July, and we went to a Holocaust museum, and I took my 7-year-old. So I mean, and he was fine. Like, I tried to keep it in context that he could understand. But I went in high school. In my freshman English class, we read the book Night, which I think a lot of people still read. It's a personal account of the Holocaust. My English teacher, though, was a white woman of German descent. Her name was Freimuth. I still remember it. But she took us because I went to high school in Maryland, she took us to the Holocaust Museum. So we read Night, had a German white English teacher, and then went to the Holocaust Museum. But let me tell you, I have never forgot that whole lesson, and it really taught me a lot about the historical context. She didn't blame herself or, it wasn't like some weird reverse victim mentality. She was like, this shit happened. It was very bad. Here are the accounts of it. And then we went to the museum and saw the history. I mean, like, it was a fantastic, just walking a student who may not have known anything about it through this whole thing, her giving her perspective as a German person. I mean, I still remember it to this day. I still remember her to this day. So, I mean, it's just good education in my book.
So are teachers still allowed to teach about the Holocaust because it's not American history?
Well, or because there's racial elements to it. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, I mean, like that.
But it feels like the racial elements are only scared of are the ones that are, kind of relative to America and Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a bad history when it comes to race. Like, we know this. We know about the Tulsa Race Massacre. And the fact that, we don't learn about it in schools is kind of insane.
Yeah.
Because everybody's bringing it up from everywhere else in the country. But meanwhile, our students don't have a base level understanding of what even happened. So yeah, I can see the Holocaust being the next thing to go in terms of what we're allowed to talk about and not.
When we look at the root of why we're allowed and not to talk about these things, is because they don't want us highlighting the white supremacy of it all. Partially because they might feel guilty or whatever, but also partially because that same exact history is pretty much repeating itself right now. And so
Oh yeah.
I think what will be really interesting when it comes to, if it comes to a conversation about the Holocaust, is the fact that this whole genocide and atrocity was rooted in white supremacy. Like, you know, Hitler wanted the perfect blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryan race. Like,
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it was all
so
race science. It was eugenics. It was like all sorts of, and I mean, some of that stuff even like imported from America. Like there is documented history about how like the eugenics movement, which took off here, actually helped build the Nazis' like propaganda machine. Like they used a lot of what they were learning from the American eugenics studies to build their, final solution stuff. So I mean, it's crazy that we can't learn about all of this stuff. Thanks for watching our video. Please give it a like and hit that subscribe button for more content. If you want to engage with us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram.